All right, let's go ahead and get started. Is everyone here? You awake?
Yep.
All right, we've got a lot of information packed into an hour, so I'm going to try and be as detailed as possible. We are going to have to go through this kind of quickly. So at the end, I'm going to try and leave about 5-10 minutes for any questions. So if you have any questions, write them down. Write down what slide it's on so we can come back to it at a later time. So today we're going to be talking about digital marketing and how to generate leads online to grow your business. Okay, so quick introduction. My name is Jeremy Petty. I'm a digital marketing expert with 10 years of experience growing small businesses using digital marketing. My bread and butter is in search engine optimization. I specialize in that because it's what works. It's what grows businesses, and we're going to get into some really cool statistics in a minute. So I'm here with Mountain View Media, which is owned by Jane here, and I'll let her introduce the company.
My name is Jane DeGrosier, and founded the company in Phoenix almost 20 years ago. So we've gone through the crash and done all sorts of marketing endeavors over the years, and focus now on web and digital marketing, and that's why we're here today. And want to thank Annette and Aquatech for allowing us to be here. And I'll turn it over to Jeremy, and thank you again for letting us be here.
All right, so an overview. Today we're going to learn how to utilize digital marketing campaigns to drive traffic to your website, which generates leads and promotes growth for your company. Now, the 6 topics we're going to touch on today is web design, search engine optimization, search engine advertising, social media, email marketing, and reputation management. Now, search engine optimization I put an asterisk next to because it's what the majority of the presentation is going to be about because of the statistics I'm going to show with you in just a minute. So web design. Okay, everything you do online starts with your website. Okay, we're in the digital age nowadays. You can't have an effective digital marketing campaign if your website sucks, right? Everybody goes to your website. If you run ads, they go to your website. If you have social media, everything links back to your website. So you have to make sure you have a good website before you can embark on any sort of digital marketing. So before you even start, you have to ask yourself some questions about your website. You got to be honest with yourself. Okay, is your website modern? Does it look good? Was it designed within the past 2-3 years? Nowadays, it's general practice to refresh your website about every 3 years. It keeps it up to date and keeps it modern. Is your website built with Wix or Squarespace? Okay, if it is, get off of it immediately. It's not a platform to use to scale your business on. Okay, Wix and Squarespace, these are platforms that are made for solo people, sole proprietorships, freelancers, people who need a website but can't afford to pay somebody, or who want to do it themselves. It's a great platform to start off with, but it's not one you can scale a business off of. Does your website load fast? Okay, if I'm sitting, waiting for your website to load for 5-10 seconds, I'm never going to look at it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click a different link, right? Is your website displaying properly on mobile devices? Okay, more than 50% of people are going to be surfing the web on either a tablet or a phone. Okay, it's surpassed desktop users. I mean, people surf the web on their refrigerators nowadays, right? So you got to make sure that it displays properly no matter what size screen they're looking at it on. Does your website clearly communicate what you do? Okay, now this one kind of surprises me from time to time, where I'll be looking at a company's website and it's like, okay, you may know what you do, but does the visitor know what you do? If you're a pool company, right, make sure that you clearly state, hey, we build custom pools, we sell pool products. You want to make sure that customers know what you do. And on top of that, clearly communicating your unique selling point, right? What sets you apart from your competitors? Why should they choose you over somebody else to build their pool? Okay, and it basically all boils down to, is your website a good user experience, right? This is the overall question that you have to ask yourself. If you don't enjoy using your website, nobody else is going to enjoy it, right? And what you're trying to do is maximize the amount of time that a visitor spends on your website. The longer they spend on your website, the more likely they are to become a lead, and the more likely they are to become a client. Your website is your business's first impression for the majority of your clients. Now, how many people network? Right? Okay, anyone in here like in a BNI referral group? Right, so they're good starting points, right? And that's the only place where your first impression is going to be face-to-face. Okay? If you go to BNI and you're relying on somebody to hand your business card to somebody else, your first impression is going to be your website, right? If you're on social media, your first impression is going to be a website. So making sure that you answer positively to the questions we just asked ourselves, it's going to be a good first impression of your business. You could be the greatest pool company in your area, but if your website doesn't reflect that, a client's not going to know that, right? So you have to make sure that your website is a good first impression. With a successful digital marketing campaign, your website's going to be your number one sales rep, right? It's going to outsell anybody else in the company. So you have to make sure your website is optimized for conversions, okay? It's not enough just to have a good, pretty looking website, right? You have to make sure that when somebody reaches that point where they're like, ooh, I like this company, I want to hire them, make it easy for them to contact you, right? This goes by putting call to actions throughout your website, making sure that if you do have that sticky navigation at the top where you scroll down, the navigation stays at the top, you have a phone number that they can click on that automatically calls. You want to make it easy for them to contact you. So next, let's talk about search engine optimization and why this is what you should primarily focus on. So for home service industries, this goes for anybody who goes to a customer's house to perform a service. Pool building companies, roofers, plumbers, electricians. 60% of all of your website traffic comes from SEO. It's also responsible for 50% of your total revenue. Now that's a big number, right? So SEO is going to be the underlying sort of growth for your company, right? And the reason that this is why these numbers are so large is because if somebody's looking for a service, they're not going to go around asking their friends. They're going to go to Google and they're going to search for what they're looking for. They're going to do their own research first, and then they may ask other people, hey, do you know a good pool builder? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that they chose properly. So if somebody says, oh yeah, so-and-so company, and it just so happens to be one that you were looking at, that's like, okay, good, I made a good choice. So why does SEO work so well? Okay, it drives high-quality traffic to your website that already have the intention to hire somebody in your industry. Okay, so aside from advertising, aside from social media, what SEO does is it says, okay, I need somebody to build a pool in my backyard. Okay, so I go to Google and I search for a company that does that. Now I already have the intent to hire you to do this. Okay, you don't have to sell me on it. All you have to do is put your website in front of me. That's why SEO works, because they're already looking for somebody to hire. So when somebody's looking for a company, the first thing they do is they go to Google and they search. So these are some common queries here. So they look for a pool company, pool builder, and then maybe they'll localize their search terms, so in their area. Right? So it's important to get your local business in that number one spot. So what exactly is SEO? Okay, so SEO is the process of optimizing your website so that it ranks highly in search engines, with the ultimate goal being that number one spot. Okay, so there are hundreds of factors that go into your rank, but there are three of the top factors, which are your website structure, your website content, and the authority. So if we break these down a little bit, your website structure is essentially everything under the hood that makes it function. Everything from the server your website's hosted on, okay, the resource allocations. This is your HTML code, all of the code of your website. You want to make sure that it's optimized to reduce loading times, okay, so that your website loads faster. Okay, and we have your website content. This is all of the text on the website, your multimedia, so images, videos. You want to make sure that these are optimized and focus on single keywords. So let's say if you're a pool builder in Sarasota, maybe one is custom designs. So you want a page that is specifically for custom pool designs in your area. One thing you do want to make sure that you don't do is you don't want to make multiple pages competing for the same keywords. That's when you get into sort of self-cannibalism and your website doesn't rank very well. So by optimizing pages for unique keywords, it increases your odds to rank number one for that keyword. And the last bit that goes into your rank is your website authority. Okay, so this is how trustworthy your website is. Okay, why should Google rank you number one as opposed to your competitor? Okay, are you a trustworthy source of information for what you're trying to rank for? Okay, so the authority is the difference between ranking number 8 and number 1. Okay, it's not good enough just to be on the first page of Google anymore. You got to be in that number 1 spot. So down here, what I did was I put a traffic share of the first page of results. So, for instance, if the number 1 position has 100 visitors coming to it per month, okay, the general rule of thumb is you divide by 50 as you continue to go down in the rankings. So number 2 is only getting half of the amount of traffic as a number 1 spot. Number 3 is only getting a quarter, and etc. So it's kind of blurry, but this is a real-life example of the keyword Pool Builder Sarasota. Okay? So you can see the number 1 spot has 63 visitors per month. The number 2 spot only has 34 visitors per month. Number 3 has about 20, and it just continues to go down into nothingness. After you get past the first page, nobody's going to that second page, the third page. All of the traffic's being generated in those top 2-3 spots. Now, with more localized keywords, you're only looking at a difference between maybe 12 visitors per month, right, from the third to first spot. But when you span that across, let's say 10, 15, 20 keywords, all of a sudden those 12 visitors become 120 visitors, 240 visitors, right? So when you rank number 1 for these localized keywords, and then you start ranking for 10, 20, 30, you're getting drastically more traffic to your website. So that's why it's important to rank number 1, because especially with local keywords, if you're ranking anywhere under 3, it's like you're not even there. So let's go ahead and break down what a SERP is. And a SERP is a search engine result page. So in this particular example, we're going to see sponsored product ads, we're going to see search advertisements, we're going to see the local map pack, and we're going to see organic results. So this is at the very top, and again, we're using Pool Builder Sarasota as an example. Now this is a really cool example because here they have sort of designs that are already pre-built, right? You just pay this package, and all you have to do is ship the material and build it. You don't have to do any custom designs. What this allows you to do is if you have one of these, you can sell it, and you can show it right up front. So if somebody sees, ooh, I really like this design, and hey, that fits my budget, it's $9,000, let me go ahead and check it out. So that's a sponsored product ad. Then we get into search ads. So these are where you go like Google AdSense or Google AdWords. This is where you are bidding to place your website on a keyword. The higher your bid amount, the higher you're going to show up in those search result pages. Now again, all of this makes up maybe a grand total of about 10 to 15% of your overall traffic. 80% of people skip all of this stuff and just go straight to the organic results, which is why it's so important. All right, so next we have the local map pack. Now what this is it tries to show the user local businesses, right? It geolocates where you're searching from, and it tries to give you the best businesses in your area. Okay, so this comes from your Google My Business listing. Now if you don't have that, that's one of the first things that we would set up. Now this takes into account like local citations, where your website's listed. Are you listed on Houzz? Are you listed on Home Advisor? Are you listed on Angie's List? So it takes all these into account. It also takes into account local citations from social media. Who's talking about you? How often are people talking about you? The other thing is your Google reviews, right? So you really want to make sure that once you finish a job, that client goes on to Google and leaves you a review. Because the more reviews you have, the higher up you're going to be showing up in this local map pack, right? Because you've got a bunch of other people in your industry, in your area. So if you don't optimize your Google My Business listing to show up in this local map pack, you're not going to show up if let's say you're on the west coast of town and somebody searches from the east coast of town. Whereas if it is optimized, you have a bunch of reviews, you're going to show up no matter where somebody's at, as long as they're in your serviceable areas. And then at the bottom, we have our organic results. So these are the same results from the search traffic. So we have the number one spot is house, which is a big, everybody here knows what house is. But second, we have an actual company, right? So they're the ones getting about the 30 some odd visitors per month for this one keyword. Now, you're probably thinking, well, House and Yelp, those are pretty big companies. How the heck am I going to outrank them? Well, it's actually really, really simple. Google loves local businesses. They love to promote local businesses. But you have to have a high enough authority, right? And that comes back to the optimization portion. If your authority is less than your competitors, you're never going to outrank them. Doesn't matter how optimized your website is. So by improving, so making sure that your website is optimized, but then also doing an authority building campaign, you can actually very easily outrank Yelp and House for your local searches. So when should you do an SEO campaign? Immediately. So SEO is the backbone of the traffic to your website. Okay, focus on SEO and getting your website to rank as soon as possible so that you can reap the rewards down the line. Okay, SEO is a long-term investment. The results don't happen overnight. Okay, or even in a month or two. On average, an SEO campaign usually takes about 6 or 8 months to really start to see some results from it. That's just the nature of the beast because you have to deal with algorithms. And you can, when we optimize a website, we can use Google Search Console. Google Search Console is basically a tool for webmasters to use where we can go in there, we can see all the information about how your website shows up inside of the Google search engine. Now the cool thing with this is that once we make changes to your website, we optimize your website, we can actually use this tool to tell Google, hey, we made some big changes, re-index our site. So you can go in there and you can speed up the process of which Google shows the new information. However, when it comes to the authority building portion, that's what takes a while because you can't tell Google, hey, go to somebody else's website and reindex their website because they mentioned our website, right? And authority is built on backlinks. So backlinks are when somebody on another site, sees the content of your website and like, ooh, this is really good. I want to post this on my site. And then they put a link back to your site. So this is a backlink. And those backlinks help increase your authority. Now, of course, those backlinks, you want to make sure that they come from relevant websites, right? So if you're a pool company, you shouldn't be getting backlinks from a dentist website, right? That doesn't make sense. And one of the old ways that I used to do way back in the day was using PBNs, which are private blog networks. I call them private backlink networks. But basically what you would do is you'd pay a couple $100 and you would get thousands of backlinks to your website. This would artificially inflate your website to the number one spot. However, back in 2016, Google put a stop to this, right? So now if you have bad backlinks coming to your website, it penalizes your website. Now, I used to build websites for local services, and they'd basically just be lead generation sites. And so I would build up these sites, I would use these PBNs to rank number one, I'd get leads, and I'd sell leads to actual companies. So back in 2016, when Google came out with that update, all of my websites disappeared, right? So it would be very, very expensive for me to try and fix those websites and get them back up to where they were. So that's imperative when you do an authority building campaign and you're working with a digital marketing agency, make sure that you're getting high quality links because it's it's the backbone of your authority building campaign. But if you get a bunch of bad backlinks and spam links is what we call them, it will actually hinder your website. So let's talk a little bit about search engine advertising now. So what about ads? If SEO is so great, when do I do advertising, right? So a common mistake that small businesses make is spending their entire budget on ads, right? Whether they're Google search ads, Google display ads, or Facebook ads. Right now, a lot of small businesses that I've worked with, they put money into networking, they put money into BNI, and then they put the rest of their budget into advertising, and they get stuck. So they come to me and they say, look, I'm spending $500 a month on ads. I'm getting a couple leads here and there, but 1 month I may get 1 month I may get 10. It's very inconsistent. And when they try to scale their business, they rely too heavily on advertisements. Now, like I said, advertisements, they're very inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get, right? So if you're not focusing on ads, your website's not generating any traffic. So the way that I like to kind of compare the two is, now when I was little, my grandpa used to have an orange tree in his backyard. So in the summer, I'd go over there. We'd go out to the backyard, we'd get some oranges and eat them. So the orange tree is like your website. Okay, when you build a website, you plant this tree. But if you don't do anything with it, it just sits there. It's never going to produce any oranges, right? So now you want some oranges, but you haven't been paying attention to this tree. So what do you have to do? You go to the market to get some, right? But this market, you can't see the oranges before you buy them. You just buy a bag and take them home. So you take them home and you open them up and, 2 of them are rotten and, some of them are still green. Maybe 1 is a good orange, or maybe the next month, you get 2 oranges that are good. You never know what you're going to get. So instead of putting the money into going to the market and buying the oranges, use that money to create a compost pile, to nurture and grow the tree. Because eventually that tree is going to start producing its own oranges, right? The more you nurture it, the bigger the tree grows, the more fruit it produces. So if the tree is your website, SEO is nurturing it, right? SEO is growing your website so that it produces those leads. And they're high quality leads because of what I just mentioned, right? It brings high quality traffic to your website. People that are already invested in what you have to offer. Advertising, you don't know what you're going to get, right? It's a mixed bag. 1 month you could do good, another month it'll bring in nothing, but you still have to pay for them. So then when should you use ads? Okay? You use ads to promote special offers. If you've got a new service, if you've got discounts, right? That's when you should do advertising. If you're already running an SEO campaign, ads are a great way to supplement that traffic. You can use ads for keywords you're not ranking yet for. Okay, you can use ads, or you can use ads for keywords that your competitors are outranking you for. You can even run ads for your competitor's brand name. So if somebody knows they want a pool, but they heard of your other, of the other company, so they do a search for that other company, but now all of a sudden your advertisement's showing up above them. You've got a chance to steal a client. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get. But if you're already doing SEO and you have a little bit of budget left over, why not try and steal some more clients from your competitors? Once you rank number 1 organically for a keyword, you don't have to run ads for that keyword anymore. You own that keyword. And that's what's great about SEO. Once you're in that number 1 spot, you don't have to run ads for it anymore. Then you can put that budget, use that ad for a different keyword, put that budget back into SEO. So eventually, the idea is that the only ads you're going to be running are for promotions or for discounts, for new services, new items. Social media. So what is social media good for? Now, I mentioned that the businesses, they do ads on social media. Social media is not a good place to advertise a service company if you're expecting business from it, right? It's a good way to increase brand awareness. It's a good way to increase customer interaction and engagement, and it's a good way to build trust in your company. So maybe down the line it may turn into business, but if you're advertising on social media for the sole purpose of trying to grab clients, you're going in with the wrong mindset, because it's not what social media does. Unless you're trying to sell a consumer good, an actual physical product. That's the only time that social media advertising really drives in revenue. So for brand awareness, consistent engaging posts on your business page shows you're an active company. It helps build your brand awareness. People start to notice you and remember your name. Okay, so the more that you post, the more likely you're going to get people to like what you have to say. The more people are going to share what you have to say, right? So posting inspirational quotes every day is not engaging content. You want to post pictures and videos of finished projects and testimonials, right? You want to show off all of your hard work. You want things that's going to stop somebody when they're scrolling through a timeline. You want that eye-catching thing, like, ooh, what is that? That looks really cool, right? You want to show off your skills and make people pause their scrolling. With engaging content, people are more likely to comment on your posts. This is when you want to interact with your audience. If somebody likes a project and they comment on it, feel free to comment back. Right? If somebody says something negative about your company on social media, a lot of people try to just ignore it. But honestly, the best thing to do is to respond to it, right? But you have to be civil. The last thing you want to do is start insulting the person that's talking bad about your company, right? People see that it's irresponsible and it damages your brand. So people notice companies that stand up for themselves and they love drama. Right? I mean, how many people here have seen people posting bad reviews and then a company responds and it just becomes viral? There was one, I think a year ago, where a social media influencer went to this 5-star resort and expected free service, right? Of course, she got denied this free service, so she went home and she ranted on social media about it. Well, the owner of the hotel actually went on and responded to her and basically told the whole story of how she was this sort of entitled person that expected free service, right? Now, that went viral, and everybody sided with the company, right? Because they just laid it out how it was. They were respectful in the reply. They weren't insulting of the young lady, but they just laid it out in a factual way, right? So if you're in the right, tell your side of the story. If you're wrong, fess up and be like, yeah, we screwed up. We're sorry about that, and try and fix the wrong, because, and I'll get into this with the reputation management, but people respect companies that own up to their mistakes and that try to fix them. So here's an example of social media. This is the Wendy's Twitter account. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this, but they got pretty popular a couple years ago. So this was a very brilliant marketing campaign that they did, where whoever was in charge of the Twitter account, did a really, really, fun stuff with it. So some examples of this would be, somebody asked Wendy's, hey, I want Wendy's, but my girlfriend wants McDonald's. What do I do? There are plenty of other fish in the sea, right? McDonald's accidentally posts a link before putting the actual content in there. Wendy's says, oh, when the tweets are as broken as the ice cream machine, right? Everybody knows McDonald's ice cream machines are always broken. Well, broken, they just never want to clean them. Right? But what Wendy's did was they found a way to interact with other companies and with their fan base, and be entertaining about it, because it gets them noticed. It makes people talk about them, and especially the demographic that they were targeting, right, is sort of the younger people who are more attuned to this style, right? So a couple more examples. Going to In-N-Out. What should I get, Wendy's? You should get out, right? I want to go on a date with Wendy's and take them to a real burger joint at Burger King. Burger King replies, treat her like the princess she deserves to be. Wendy's fires back, if you're going for a princess, you might want to let it go. Not interested in the frozen beef kingdom, right? So throwing in some pop culture references in there and basically establishing this sort of fiery redhead that Wendy's is, right? And it was a genius marketing idea because people were talking about it. The Twitter account blew up over a couple months, right? And it got people talking about this. Now, is this the way you should approach your social media? Maybe, maybe not, right? But the idea here is just to interact and engage with people, right? It gets people talking about you. So social media builds trust, right? By posting consistent and engaging content, you establish yourself as an active business. If somebody sees your business and they go to your Facebook page and you haven't posted anything since 2016, they're not going to think you're an active business. They're going to think, are they even still around, right? And with social media, unless you're posting 3-4 times a week, you're not going to get any traction from it. you're going to be limited to the people within your sort of network bubble. So with social media, you got to make sure that you're constantly active. But again, not posting inspirational quotes all the time. It's okay once in a while, but I see it a lot where when they do get into this rhythm where they're just posting inspirational quotes, you get the same people liking it and commenting on it, and you're never growing your fan base. So everything about social media is about brand awareness, building trust within your community, and just getting the word out. So social media advertising, like I said, don't expect to get any clients from advertising through social media. It's purely brand awareness for service-based industries. Okay, so using Facebook audience insights and creating highly targeted local audience groups is a great way to maximize your advertising budget by only showing ads to local users matching your prime demographics. Right now, who here has tried doing Facebook ads before, or at least boosting a post? Right. So when you boost a post without actually creating demographics, it just kind of goes out to anybody Facebook thinks would be a good match. Well, Facebook, inside of their ads campaign, you can go into what's called their audience insights. And Facebook, along with Google, they know everything about anyone on their platform. You can select people, let's say, I only want people that are aged, 30 to 59. I don't want my ads to show up to kids, right? I only want people within a certain income bracket. I only want people in this community. You can get extremely specific because Facebook knows everything about you, right? Now, as a marketer, that's great for us because we can really pinpoint who we're showing your ads to. But again, unless you're selling consumer good products, don't expect to actually get any clients from it. Again, it's just for brand awareness. Only 3% of your website traffic comes from social media. Right? So if you're spending most of your budget on Facebook ads, expecting clients from it, that's only generating about 3% of the traffic. So would you rather spend $500 on ads in Facebook, or would you rather spend $500 in SEO that's going to ultimately become 50% or 60% of your overall web traffic? It's a no-brainer. But small businesses, they don't understand this. They think, oh, I'll run ads, it'll get me clients, right? Email marketing. So who does email marketing, right? Constant Contact, MailChimp, Drip. So email marketing is really good for retargeted marketing. It's good for promoting deals and specials. It keeps customers up to date with the company if you have like monthly or weekly newsletters. Really, email marketing is good for recapturing old clients, returning clients, right? So if you've built a pool for somebody, you have their contact information, right? Put them in a group of current clients or past clients. That way, whenever you have a new service or you have new chemicals for their pool or something, you can send out a mass email to all of your current clients to get them to buy your products. Because you built their pool, why wouldn't they buy some other products from you, right? Especially if you did a good job and they trust your business, they're more likely to be returning customers. So that, I just talked about that. So email marketing solutions, again, MailChimp and Constant Contact are the two big ones that I recommend. And email marketing is responsible for 10% of your overall website traffic. So again, SEO makes up about 60% for home services. The other 40% come from people directly typing in your website into the URL, referrals from other websites, meaning they click on a backlink, social media, advertising, email marketing. All of these other things only take up the rest of that 40%. And the last thing we're going to talk about is reputation management. So reputation management is basically making sure people are leaving reviews on Google, on Yelp, on Houzz, on Home Advisor. Again, it's another way to build trust in your company. If we go back and look at the Google My Business listing, would you do business with a company that has no reviews, right? Would you do business with a company that has a bunch of 1-star reviews and no 5-star reviews, right? Probably not, right? You're going to go after the business that has the 30+ reviews. They're majorly, 5 stars. Okay? So having a lot of good reviews is important, but the bad reviews are just as important, right? And I touched on this a little bit earlier. Make sure you respond to bad reviews. If the bad review was something that you did wrong, make sure that you own up to your mistakes, you apologize, and you offer some sort of compensation. What this tells people is that, hey, you care about your customers, right? If somebody had a bad experience, you're trying to right the wrong, that bad review, the way that you handle that bad review can actually turn into a client, right? If it's not your fault and it was just a really difficult client, they were rude to your employees, whatever it may be, don't ignore it. Because if you ignore it, people are just going to see the one side of the story. If you give your side of the story, it gives a little bit more insight into the actual situation. The last thing you want to do, again, is insult the person. The last thing you want to do is try and act high and mighty, Be respectful, be civil, be professional when responding, but make sure that you do, because it can ultimately help your business out. Now, me personally, if I'm looking to do business with a company, I'm going to look at their reviews. Everybody does, right? I'll read a couple 5-star reviews, but usually they all say the same thing. Oh, great service, love these people, would recommend. But then I'll go down into their 1-star reviews and I'll see what bad experiences do people have, right? Now, if there's a ton of 1-star reviews and they're all saying the same thing, that kind of sets off some alarms, right? But if there's only a handful of 1-star reviews, their overall score is like a 4.9, and I see that they had bad reviews, but I see that they handled it properly, I'm more likely to do business with them because I see that they care about their customers. So Mountain View Media can help you grow. We offer all of the services that I just talked about. SEO is what we specialize in, turning your website into a lead generating machine, right? That's what we do. And for everybody attending today, we're offering free consultations, which are a $500 value. So who here got my email like at midnight this morning with the audits? Right? If you didn't and you want one, please feel free to come up and ask me for it. But inside of the consultation, we'll go over that audit with you. We'll talk about any technical edits that need to be made to your website. We'll share. We're going to show you where you stack up on Google. We're going to show you how you compare to your direct local competitors, so you can see, how far off are you? Are you ahead of them? Are you behind them? And we're also going to create an action plan for you guys, so you know what steps you need to take in order to start generating leads on your website. You can call us at the number listed there. It should also be on the flyers that were handed out. And at this time, let's go ahead and open the floor to any questions. Yes?
When you do seasonal advertising, like seasonal SEO, I live in Kentucky.
Okay.
Our business is not doing anything.
Right.
December, January, February. Does that have a really negative impact on your authority?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So authority is just an overall ranking. One of the factors that does go into your authority is the amount of traffic being generated. That's a minor thing. As long as your website's optimized, you have good content, good structure, and you have a high authority, you should still maintain that #1 spot no matter what time of the year it is. Because if it's seasonal, your competitors are doing the same thing, right? They're not getting the traffic as well. So seasonal, it shouldn't affect your company. Yep. Yes?
I would just like to make a comment or ask a question about reviews. It runs against my personality to be out at a customer's house and say, hey, look, would you write me a review?
Yeah.
I've got a 5-star review, but there's only 13 of them, 15 of them, and they just all came naturally.
Right.
And I take a great deal of joy in seeing them when they do come up. But it just kind of runs against my grain to say,
Yeah. So it's definitely, you know, one of those awkward things just to be upfront, like, hey, you know, we did a good job, give us a 5-star review type thing. You know, you don't want to straight up ask them for it, but what you can do is you can do it strategically, where after you finish a project, you know, you can send like a follow-up email, like, hey, you know, we'd like to get in touch with you. Would you, you know, fill out like a survey? How did we do? You know, what did you like? What did you not like? You know, and feel free to leave us a review. Kind of be, you know, a little bit not so upfront about it, but just kind of sneak it in there. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
When it comes to constant contact, how many emails do you recommend a week? Is there different days better than others?
I mean, it really depends on your industry. I know the last thing that I love is when a company emails me every other day about promotions and offers. If somebody signs up, you know, if you have a newsletter sign up and somebody signs up for it, you can specify on the website weekly newsletter, monthly newsletter, so that they understand, you know, and they can get a concept of how often you're going to be contacting them. You know, I would recommend one a week. Usually once a month is good too, unless you have special promotions that you want to offer. You know, those of course you want to get out as soon as possible. But as far as just a newsletter, I would say weekly is probably the fastest I would do it.
But for like sales promos for each week, we usually do sales promos each week. Would you still just do one on a Monday and
Yeah.
weekly sales, something like that?
Yeah.
Or would you do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
If you were to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I wouldn't send everybody that email on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. I would break it up into different groups. Because again, the last thing you want to do is bombard somebody with a bunch of emails, because I know a lot of times I delete them before I even read them if I know they're from a newsletter. So I would try to condense it into about one a week. Yep.
And then maybe I'm just dumb, but how do you get backlinks?
So Google's, in an ideal world, you know, Google wants somebody to stumble across your website and be like, oh wow, you know, these people have something worth sharing, right? So maybe they write a blog post about you and link back to your website. Now that's an ideal world. In the real world, you have to pay for them, right? And so what we would do is we would go to relevant websites. So maybe home improvement blogs or something like that, and we'll say, hey, you know, can we do a guest blog post on your website? They say, sure, it's $50, right? So that's how you would acquire those backlinks. There's also other services, like I mentioned, like with PBNs. If you do it strategically, it can work, but there is that sort of looming issue with the Google update, where if they notice something odd and they say, wait a minute, a bunch of these links have nothing to do with a pool company, then they start to look at your website and they start to investigate your backlinks. That's when you can run into what are called manual penalties. And this shows up in the Search Console as well, so you can go in there, and if you hire a company to do an authority building campaign and they're starting to send a bunch of backlinks, that's one of the things you want them to monitor, and you would want to monitor as well, because as soon as you get a penalty, you're instantly going to lose out on your position. So you'd have to go in there and make sure that they fix it. They remove the link. At the very worst case scenario, you would have to do a disavow list. Basically, if you can't get that link removed, you create a disavow list, you upload it to Google, they block that link from your site. So to answer your question, you have to pay for them. Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Jeremy, can you talk a little bit about the reporting and sales?
Yeah, so for all of our clients, we have an all-included sort of dashboard system. It integrates all of your SEO statistics, which you can log into at any time and view. It shows you your backlinks, so you can see what's being done on your website. You can run a website audit through there, so you can check your website every month. Those are automatically generated. They get emailed to you every month so that you can see. It also integrates call tracking. So if you want to make sure that the leads that are coming on your phone are coming from the website, a service called CallRail. You can sign up for that. You can. They have their own phone numbers. You generate a phone number. You put that phone number on your website. So when somebody calls that phone number, it basically gets sent to the CallRail, and then it goes to your phone. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can track when people call you from the website, right? You can separate out your website calls from just any other marketing that you have. The other cool thing is you can record those phone calls. So you can see, okay, like for instance, if I was doing a lead generation website and I was renting it out to another company who were getting all the leads from that site, you know, if they try to come back and say, well, I didn't get any leads from your website this month, I'm not paying you, you know, well, I can go into that thing at the CallRail and I can say, well, no, look, here are all the phone calls. Here's the recordings of the phone calls. You closed deals here, 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 and here. Now that helps you out too, because I can say, oh, you can hold us reliable. So if you're not getting any phone calls from your website, you can say, hey, I've got no phone calls, or hey, you know, the phone calls came in, but they were bad leads, right? So it's accountability on both ends. It also integrates your email marketing, so you can see your click-through rates. You can see how many people actually become a client from your email marketing campaigns. And so the dashboard basically takes everything and just puts it into one unified location, so that you're not having to use 20, 30 different applications to track all of your data. Yeah. All right, anything else? Awesome.